Good morning. DMG's Jim here to continue our RTFM Read the Frickin' Manual. We are working through the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide still. We are in Chapter 3. We're almost done with Chapter 3, but this next section is called Siege Equipment. As usual, we will read through word for word, line by line, and then have a little bit of commentary at the end of the video. So thanks for joining us, and let's get into it. Siege equipment. Siege equipment includes objects designed to assail castles and other walled fortifications. Most siege weapons require creatures to move them as well as to load, aim, and fire them. Ballista. Large object. Armor class of 15, hit points 50. Ballista bolt requires load and aim. Ranged attack roll plus 6, range 120/480 feet, hit 3d10 piercing damage. A ballista is a massive crossbow that fires heavy bolts. Loading a ballista requires the utilize action, and aiming it requires another utilize action. Then a crew member can take the ballista bolt action. Cannon. Large object, armor class 19, hit point 75. Cannonball requires load and aim. Ranged attack roll plus 6, range 600 to 2,400 feet, and hit is going to be 8d10 bludgeoning damage. A cannon uses gunpowder or arcane power to propel heavy iron balls at destructive speeds. A cannon usually attached to a wooden frame with wheels. Loading a cannon requires a utilize action, and aiming it requires another utilize action. Then a crew member can take the cannonball action. Flamethrower coach. Large object, armor class 19, hit points 100. Flamethrower has a dexterity saving throw of DC 15, and each creature in a 60-foot long, 5-foot wide line is affected. Failing the save does 46 fire damage, and the creature starts burning. Succeeding on the save, you'll take half that damage only. Powered by magic, this iron coach has a flamethrower turret mounted atop it. The coach can accommodate up to 2 medium creatures. An iron hatch in the vehicle's underbelly grants access. Narrow slits in the front, side, and the back of the coach allow its occupants to see outside. A creature in the coach has 3/4 cover against attacks and other effects that originate outside of it. The coach is designed for a crew of 2, a driver and a gunner. The driver can take the utilize action to move and turn the coach, which has a speed of 30 feet, using the levers and pedals inside. The gunner can use the flamethrower action to aim and fire it. Keg launcher is the next one. A large object, armor class 15, hit points 30. A toxic keg requires a load and aim. Constitution saving throw is a DC 15. Each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point 30 to 300 feet from the launcher. Failure is 46 poison damage. Success is half damage. A back-mounted wooded catapult flings a small keg of toxic gas. Loading a keg requires utilize action, and aiming it requires another utilize action. Then a crew member can take the toxic keg action. Lightning cannons. Armor class, this is a medium object. Armor class 19, hit points 30. A lightning ball requires aim. Ranged attack roll 6. Range is 300 to 1,200 feet. 4d10 lightning damage. A lightning cannon is a small bronze cannon inlaid with arcane runes and mounted on a heavy tripod device. It launches balls of crackling electricity. Aiming a lightning cannon requires utilize action, then a crew member can take the lightning ball action. Mangonel, large object, armor class 15, hit points 100. A mangonel stone requires load and aim. Range attack roll is 5 with a range of 200 to 800 feet. Cannot hit targets within 60 feet of itself. Damage is 5d10 bludgeoning damage. A mangonel is a catapult that hurls heavy projectiles in a high arc so that it can hit targets behind walls. Loading a mangonel requires 2 utilize actions, and aiming it requires 2 more utilize actions. Then a crew member can take the mangonel stone action. Ram, large object, armor class 15, hit points 100. Requires position, melee attack roll of plus 8, or reach of 5, and 3d10 bludgeoning damage. A ram consists of a movable gallery equipped with heavy logs suspended from 2 roof beams by chains. The log is shod in iron and used to batter through doors and barricades. Positioning a ram requires 3 utilize actions. Then a crew member can use the ram action. The gallery roof provides the operator's total cover against attacks and other effects from above. The next one is a siege tower, a gargantuan object. Armor class is 15 and hit points are 200. A siege tower is a mobile wooden structure with a beam frame and slats in its walls. Large wooden wheels or rollers allow the tower to be pushed or pulled by soldiers or beasts of burden. Medium or smaller creatures can use a siege tower to reach the top of walls up to 40 feet high. A creature in the tower has total cover against attacks and other effects that originate outside of it. Suspended Cauldron. Large object, armor class 19, hit points are 20. It has the spill requiring a full cauldron. Dexterity saving throw DC 15. Each creature in a 10-foot square below the cauldron takes 3d6 fire damage, half on a successful save. An iron pot is suspended so it can be tipped easily, spilling its contents. Once emptied, a cauldron must be refilled before it can be used again. Filling the cauldron requires 3 utilize actions, and a crew member can take the spill action. Excuse me. Cauldrons are typically filled with boiling oil, but they can also be filled with other substances such as acid or green slime. See hazards in this chapter that will give you different effects. And our last one is Trebuchet. Huge object, armor class 15, hit points 150. Trebuchet stone requires load and aim. Range attack roll +5, range 300 to 1200. Can't hit targets within 60 feet of itself. Hits 8d10 bludgeoning damage. A trebuchet is a catapult that throws its payload in a high arc so it can hit targets behind walls. Loading a trebuchet requires 2 utilize actions, and aiming it requires 2 more utilize actions. Then a crew member can take the trebuchet stone action. Okay, that's siege equipment. What's it for? Why is it here? Not used very often, but typically your castles, your fortresses, some of your sailing vessels will be carrying siege equipment in place of artillery. The first thing I'm going to say as far as personal commentary goes is you do not have to have all of these available in your campaign. If you don't want gunpowder, if you don't want explosives, then you don't put a cannon in your campaign. If you don't want your people driving around in some steampunk tank, then you don't use the flamethrower coach. These are all suggestions. If you want to make other siege weapons, large devices, things like that, that are capable of assaulting fortifications or are a major threat to your players, set-piece objects, as it were, then these stats that are given here can give you the basis to start with. You know, primarily the idea being armor class 15 and hit point 100 on a mangonel is the idea that you need to destroy some mangonels before they tear down the walls of the city that your players are defending, for example. There's a couple different reasons that you'll use siege weapons, but by and large, most of them are very, very particular and very set piece. I would not worry about committing this section to memory, but I would at least make sure that you're familiar with the idea behind siege equipment. Ballistae and mangonels and trebuchets show up a lot. These are your primary castle defenses. If you want to have fun with them, have fun with them. If you want to put these in your campaigns, by all means do so. And you can make slight adjustments, take the flamethrower and turn it into a cold thrower or a lightning shooter if you wanted. Cannons, things like that. Man, you know your campaign world better than I will, so if there is space for these, and eventually in long-range campaigns, there likely will be some sort of siege event where you'll need these numbers. Real quick, one thing I do want to point out is on the stats. Every one of these weapons has a built-in attack roll modifier as well as its own range and damage. Your players will not use their 2 hit rolls when firing a ballista. They will use the +6 that's built into this. Good, bad, or ugly, it is a +6 that is used when they're shooting this. Now, notice where it did say requires a load and aim action. So, loading a ballista requires 1 full action. Aiming it requires 1 full action. Then someone can take the ballista bolt action to shoot it. The idea is these are crew-served weapons. It could fire off every round if you had 3 or 4 people utilizing their actions each turn to make sure that they were able to fire it. If one person is trying to run a ballista, it's going to take 1 round to load it, another action to aim it, and then a third action to fire it. So a single person running one of these siege engines is going to be 3, 4, 5 rounds sometimes before they can use them. These were designed to be crew-served, which also means if your players are attacking these, they've got to deal with the characters, the NPCs, the defenders, or the crew of these weapons as well. So it's never is it just a cannon. It's a cannon and its crew of 3. It's a ballista and its crew of 3. It's a mangonel and its crew of 5, or a trebuchet, for example, and its crew of 5. So in addition to the large weapon and the damage that it's dealing, You're also dealing with extra NPCs anytime you have a siege weapon in play, at least if your players are facing it in an attack. Pay attention to your ranges as well. 1,200 feet is a long way, man. If we're looking at the cannonball earlier, that sucker went out to 2,400 feet. You're not running battle maps that big, and if you are, holy cow, I salute you. A lot of the distances and ideas that are used in these siege weapons are going to be theater of the mind as well. So these aren't necessarily set up for battle map, virtual tabletops type combat. Usually your siege weapons will represent a point to defend or a specific objective to attack, not necessarily constant things going on in the battle. But you can use the descriptions once in a while to liven it up. And you have the stats to if a mangonel shoots the ball over the wall and the rock smashes into a group of people, how much damage is done. You have the numbers to handle that for your cinematic purposes and in the event that your players interact with it. Anyway, siege weapons are part of your toolbox. They're not going to see much use, but having the rules is still pretty useful. Hey, so thanks for joining us for this section. I think we've got 2 more sections in Chapter 3, then we'll get into Chapter 4. Appreciate your time. Likes, follows, subscribes are always appreciated. Leave a comment. Join us over on Twitch if you have any questions about what we're reading through. But I am DM Geezer Jim, and we are done with this video for now, and we'll see you more here soon. Take care.